Happy are men whose hearts forget everything. I had loved her madly. Why does one love? How strange to see only one person in the world. To have only one thought in the mind, one desire in the heart, and one name on the lips. A name which one whispers ceaselessly like a prayer. I'm going to tell you a story. I met her, and I loved her. That is all. And for a whole year, I lived on her tenderness, on her caresses, so completely wrapped up in everything. I no longer knew whether I was dead or alive, if it was day or night. And then she died. How? I no longer know. But one evening, she came home wet, as it had been raining. And the next day she began coughing, and in a week took to her bed. Doctors came, prescribed, and went away. Medicines were brought, and some women made her drink them. Her hands were hot, and her forehead was burning. Her eyes were bright and sad. When I spoke to her, she answered, but I do not remember what we said. I've forgotten everything. Everything. She died, and I only remember her slight, feeble sigh. The nurse said, and I understood. I understood. They consulted me about the funeral, but I do not remember anything. Though I recollect the coffin, and the sound of the hammer when they nailed her in it. Some people came, female friends. I made my escape. I ran away. I walked through the streets, and then went home, and the next day I started on a journey. Yesterday, I returned to Paris. And when I saw my room again, our room, our bed, our furniture, everything that remains of the life of a human after death, I was seized by such a violent attack of fresh grief that I nearly opened the window and threw myself onto the street below. I couldn't remain between these walls. I walked without knowing, without wishing, towards the cemetery. I found her simple grave, a white marble cross, with these few words: she loved, was loved, and died. She's there, below, decayed. I sobbed with my forehead on the ground for a long time. When I saw that it was getting dark, a strange, mad wish, the wish of a despairing lover, seized me, to pass the night, one last night, weeping on her grave. But I should be seen and driven out. How was I to manage? I got up, began to roam the city of the dead. At the end of the abandoned cemetery, I came to where those who have been long dead finish mingling with the soil. It was full of unintended roses and dark cypress trees, all nourished on human flesh. I was alone, so I crouched beneath a green tree and hid myself there among the thick and somber branches, clinging to it like a shipwrecked man does to a plank. When it was quite dark, I left my refuge and began to walk slowly, softly, through that ground full of dead people, but I could not find her again. I went on with extended arms, knocking against tombs with my hands, my feet. I felt the stones, the crosses. So I sat down on one for I could not walk any longer, and my knees were so weak I could hear my heart beat. Suddenly, it seemed as if the slab of marble on which I was sitting was suddenly moving. It was moving as if it were being raised. I sprang aside, and I saw, yes, I distinctly saw the stone rise upright, and the dead person appeared, a naked skeleton that was pushing the stone back with its bent back. And I saw this quite clearly. On the gravestone, I saw it, and I read, "Here lies Jacques Oliviant, who died at age 51. He loved his family, he was kind, he was honorable, and he died in the grace of the Lord." The dead man also read that inscription, and then he picked up a stone, a little pointed stone, and he began to scrape the letters carefully. He slowly effaced them, and with the tip of the bone that had been his forefinger, wrote in luminous letters, "Here lies Jacques Oliviant, who died at age 51. He hastened his father's death by his unkindness. He wished to inherit his fortune. He tortured his wife, tormented his children, deceived his neighbors, robbed everyone he could, and died wretched." Turning around, I saw that all the graves were open, that all the dead bodies had emerged from them, that all had removed the lies inscribed by their relations and substituted the truth instead. And I saw that all had been tormentors, malicious, dishonest hypocrites, liars and rogues, that they had all stolen, they had deceived and performed every disgraceful act, every abominable action. These good fathers, these faithful wives, these devoted sons, these chaste daughters, these honest tradesmen, these men and women who were called irreproachable, they were all writing at the same time, writing on the threshold of their eternal abode the truth, the terrible, holy truth. Suddenly I knew she must be writing on her gravestone, running without any fear among the half-open coffins, among the corpses and skeletons. I stumbled towards her, and I recognized her at once. Her face draped in a shroud, and on the marble cross, where before it read, "She loved, was loved, and died," I now saw she caught a cold in the rain one day and died, having gone out in order to deceive her lover. It appears that they found me at daybreak, lying unconscious on her grave.